out of the sight of the suspect. They can maintain their emergency equipment, the lights, emergency lights and sirens, but they've got to be out of sight of the suspect. Now, LAPD Air Support Division overhead calling this pursuit play-by-play, giving those officers all the information they need. We're continuing on southbound on Telegraph Road, and I think we're coming up on Paramount here. Speed 70, 80 plus miles per hour. So they are in tracking mode, continuing to track this vehicle. I'm sure other agencies are being notified right through that red light there. That was Telegraph Road, and we'll get the cross in a second. I think that might have been Slauson. That was Lakewood. So continuing on Telegraph, southbound, speeds 80 plus miles per hour, Mark and Michelle. So this has been a fast one from the get-go. That Shelby not messing around with those speeds, going extremely fast.
Well, I've just looked up some information about the Shelby Mustang. We knew it was a high-performance car, a muscle car. This thing has 526 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. It is faster. It's got more muscle than the CHP vehicles or the LAPD vehicles that would be pursuing it. It is able to perform better and faster than those vehicles, so it's going to be able to outrun them. Might even be able to outrun the helicopter. We're not sure, but it's kind of a wise decision on being on. I don't know how fast the helicopters go, but this thing is plenty fast. I looked under top speed. It said NA. Not available. Yeah. So we don't know how fast it goes, but man, it is definitely a trouble for anybody trying to catch up to this thing. You can't outrun a radio, of course, and they can certainly deploy officers along the route and keep up with it in that way, but it is a very, very fast car. And that's what we're dealing with.
Now, we're still trying to get confirmation. You may have that this is actually a Mustang Shelby. We know it's a Mustang. We're not sure it's the Shelby. We're still working on that. But did you see him pass those two CHP units? He went right by him on Telegraph Road like they weren't even there. Coming up in the Santa Fe Springs area on Telegraph, coming up on Pioneer Road. Speeds still pushing 70 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour. But on the freeway, again, we saw him at 120, and he just laid on that gas, and he started pulling away from us. The one advantage that we have is we can go line of sight and cut the corners where he can't. He's got to stay on the roads. But so hopefully we'll keep up with again. We'll see if they pass this along to some of the other agencies down there and see if they will pick it up. But we are southbound Telegraph. There's Norwalk Boulevard, making a right turn on Norwalk, so that's going to be back direct southbound on Norwalk Boulevard, coming right underneath the 5 freeway.
JT, how long have they been in tracking mode? Were they still pursuing this car when it was seen going 120 miles an hour on the freeway?
Yeah, they were in pursuit on the surface streets in LAPD Hollenbeck's area. It got on the freeway. It was on the southbound 710. And right about the time it transitioned onto the 5 freeway, there's another red light violation. By the time it transitioned from the 710 to the 5 is about the time they went into tracking mode. They had to get the LAPD airship overhead. I believe there was another another airborne law enforcement agency over the top. It was not LAPD, so they had to wait till an LAPD airship got overhead to go into the tracking mode, and that's what happened here. And that was somewhere around the 5 freeway just south of the 710.
All right, well, the speeds, as you were seeing here, are pretty dangerous. And when you're on the surface streets, as we have seen, you've got the cross traffic there, and at any moment, somebody could pull out of a driveway, could pull out of a cross street, and you have a disaster, especially at the speeds he's going, 89, 90 miles an hour on this surface street. He's on Norwalk Boulevard, is that correct right now?
Yeah, he's on Norwalk Boulevard going southbound, approaching Everest Street, looking out ahead, and I think we're coming back on towards the, we'll see what highway this is. I got my eyes outside right now. I believe this is the, well, we'll get that in a second here. That's the back towards the 5 here on Norwalk Boulevard. So we cut away from Telegraph, which broke away, but now coming back on the 5 freeway right underneath the picture right now. So there's the 5 freeway right over the top. We'll see what he does from here.
So, JT, they're in tracking mode in terms of ground units, but still there's some illumination coming from the helicopter.
Yes.
Is that standard procedure?
It is. Yeah, when they go into tracking mode, it's LAPD's policy that the airship continues to track, and that means lighting the suspect up still with the night sun, unless the incident commander of the pursuit deems them to turn it off. So at some point, they're continuing to track. So now we're back south on the 5 from Rosecrans here, or approaching Rosecrans, I should say. There go the speeds again, picking up those speeds. But yes, the airship will stay overhead. He's the one doing the play-by-play. He's giving all the officers on the ground where he's at, whereas they continue to track on the ground with their emergency equipment on and try to stay out of eyeshot of the suspect. Hopefully he slows down. Hopefully he pulls over and gets out of the vehicle and poses less of a threat to the public at large driving their vehicles and pedestrians, and they can get him into custody when those officers are nearby. They can get to him, set up a containment, set up a perimeter, take him into custody when he's out of that vehicle. That's the hopes, but it doesn't look like this guy's slowing down. We haven't seen a black and white. Well, we'll see. We're going to pull out. Maybe another unit is coming in. Maybe it's CHP. We're going to widen out a little bit to see if there's any emergency equipment, any police vehicles with emergency. Now, we do see one. We're going to push into that one real quick. And see who that is. That is LAPD, and those are Hollenbeck units. So they are back, but they may not be out of eyeshot. You can see that we're going to pick him back up, looking for that white racing stripe there. There he is right there. So they're about a quarter mile back. The idea is to stay out of eyeshot, but we'll see what happens here. But they still are in surveillance mode. They're not uptight on them, so officially still in tracking mode, not officially in pursuit.
I wonder if the tactics change if you've got a car that is of higher performance than your average vehicle. I mean, this is if it's a Shelby, then it's really formidable. But as I believe you had mentioned at the beginning that it was a Shelby, at least has that sort of paint scheme on it. But if it is not, it's still a pretty fast car, pretty high performance vehicle. And if that changes whatever tactics they would employ.
Well, it may. I mean, again, they've got the airship overhead, and he's really going to push back into the car a little bit tighter here so we can get the speeds. His speeds have come down quite a bit, so he's back down to 80, 85. Definitely speeds that are manageable enough for LAPD's fleet to keep up with. Now, the speeds of 125, 135, if he's getting up in that area, that becomes a little questionable for them to keep up. Again, those police vehicles are high-performance vehicles. They've got very high-performance engines and suspensions, but keeping up with those speeds is because they're heavier. They've got ballistic panels, obviously, in the door, so some heavy armor in those door panels makes the vehicles make it heavy. So we're continuing southbound on the 5 freeway. Now we're approaching what's called the Disneyland temporary flight restriction, which is more of a permanent flight restriction, which is 3 miles and 3,000 feet around the Disneyland resort. So we've got to go up to 3,500 feet. So we're going to be climbing here as we continue over the top of the TFR, as you continue southbound on the 5 into Orange County, coming up on Artesia Boulevard here in the area of La Mirada.
Okay, transitioning here now.
So he's transitioning, getting off.
What are we getting onto here, JT?
That looks like he's off at maybe Artesia Firestone in Buena Park now. We'll turn on our streets here in a second, on Artesia Boulevard, going eastbound, back underneath the 5 freeway. You can see the LAPD airship overhead. And, well, are we going to do another back on the freeway thing? Well, this is the second time we've seen the suspect do that. It looks like he's going to be back on northbound 5. He's the third time we've seen him do that. Back on the freeway, opposite directions here. So we're going back northbound on the 5 freeway. We'll see what happens now. Second time he's done it.
Well, it's interesting. He's kind of staying in this sort of general area, I guess, going back and forth on the 5 freeway, north and south. His speed's definitely picking up here as he gets back on. What would you say his speed is right now? 95 miles an hour. But, for this kind of a car, he could be going a lot faster. Maybe he's deciding not to push it too hard or harder than he's pushing it now. But it's still very dangerous when you're talking those kinds of speeds. But it's better here than on surface streets. Better to be doing 90 miles an hour on a freeway with no cross traffic than on surface streets where that's pretty much the norm, where you would have intersections and cross traffic. And even at this time of night, you might have a pedestrian or two or somebody on a bicycle. So this is a better situation than it could be, but it is still quite dangerous. You see people pulling over as this guy's going past them, flying by, running around 90 miles an hour. A stolen vehicle out of the LAPD's Hollenbeck division. Hollenbeck covers much of East Los Angeles, if memory serves, and maybe that's where they picked it up. We don't know where the car was stolen out of initially, whether it was reported stolen there. There's a lot of information we're still trying to gather. 105, wow, look at him moving now.
Yep, starting to pick it up again.
Triple digits here. Really flying by people, and the danger level here is much higher as he somebody makes a wrong move in front of him, he overcorrects or something, and all of a sudden you've got what amounts to a missile flying down the road, and somebody could really get hurt.
Yeah, we're luckily not a lot of traffic on the 5 freeway right now. We're looking up ahead on a Monday night here, getting into the later hours. We're seeing a good volume, but not a lot. So he's getting around those vehicles, making lane changes earlier rather than late, which is good. Basically staying between the number 1 and number 2 lanes, the far left lanes. Well, now we see him go over to the right, but kind of weaving his way through traffic, but not doing it too close. There he's over to the right side, but speeds again starting to slow down. Hard on the brakes here. Back to 60. Well, is he running out of steam here, or what's he doing? We're going to widen out just a little bit to see what he's trying to do here. Or a little.
All right. Well, the thing about this
he is slowing down. He's slowing down, Mark, way down. Back to 60, and now we can see that is California Highway Patrol. We're going to push in just to verify that. We can always tell CHP because those back doors are black. It is. So CHP has taken over this pursuit from the LAPD, and they have re-engaged. They are not tracking it. They are now officially in pursuit. CHP now taking it over.
Okay, so the pursuit is back on now as we continue on the I-5 south. And we'll see how far it goes before he may choose to get off the freeway again. We've seen him get on and off the I-5 a couple of times now. We believe this started in the Boyle Heights area, a reported stolen car. It's unclear how many people are on board. We don't know if it's just the driver or if there may be some passengers in that car as well. But the speeds have been high, though not as bad right now. Interesting, as they went back into pursuit mode, the speeds haven't taken off like they had been earlier.
Yeah, and well, we'll see what he does. Obviously we don't know if there are more than one person inside the car. We don't know a lot about what is the motivation other than just getting away. If there's something else this person may have been involved with, but we do know the car is stolen. That's the report that we have. And as he continues now on the southbound 5. He's been kind of getting off the freeway and then getting right back on northbound and then getting off and going southbound again, kind of in the Lakewood all the way down to Anaheim area. So we'll see if that pattern continues. If it does, he would be getting off here fairly soon and starting to head northbound again. So, or heading in another direction, the other direction. We will see.
Yep, we are up.
Go ahead.
Yep, continuing northbound, we just passed Imperial. We're in the Norwalk area.
Mm-hmm.
You can see him getting by that truck there. Speed's slowing down again, but CHP, we're going to show him, I don't know what's going on. He goes real fast and then real slow again. We're going to pull out so the CHP behind him. But those speeds, we're not seeing the speeds he did originally right off the bat coming down that 710 freeway and then onto the 5 freeway. 120, 125 we saw at one point where we were really gunning and he started pulling away from us. We haven't seen those speeds. But now the pursuit is back on. He's actually driving slower than he was while they were in tracking mode. Now we're coming up on the northbound 5 freeway right at the 605, about to cross over the 605. Looks like he's going to commit to stay on the northbound 5.
It's a dangerous part of the 5 freeway. You can see the K-rails there, no emergency lanes, very little room for error. And we did see him having to go through kind of a narrow area between a truck and that, I think that's K-rail, JT. It looks like it. There has been a lot of construction on the 5 freeway. Well, it's pretty much been under construction ever since I've lived here.
Yeah, for years, right?
Years.
Through this part, they've been, there are a lot of the lane restrictions there. Yeah. The K-rails have been moved in, lanes taken away, emergency lanes taken away at various sections of the 5 freeway. And so far, he's been able to negotiate this area well without sideswiping anybody or colliding with anybody. But look at all the trucks. Look at all the truck traffic he's having to weave through and move past, in addition to other vehicles. So, a wrong move at these speeds is really, really dangerous, not only for him, but for anybody who happens to be around him, including the pursuing officers of the CHP and we presume the LAPD further back. Looks like he's getting off. This would be Rosemead Boulevard?
Lakewood.
Okay, go ahead.
In the Downey area.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what he does here. He's going to put him out on, we'll pull the streets up for you here.
What's ahead of him?
That's Lakewood Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he's going to make a left turn on Lakewood, which puts him westbound on Lakewood Boulevard from Vista del Rosa, which is the off-ramp. So he's going to come right underneath us.
He's on the wrong side of the road.
Wow.
He's on the
wrong side of the road here. So we're just going to hold up here and let him go right under us. We've got a camera that can actually look straight down.
And there he goes now. And now he's on the right side of the road.
There he goes. There's the speed.
All right.
All right, so we are in Downey right now, correct, JT? City of Downey?
Yeah, we are southbound. We're trying to catch back up with it here.
All right, yeah, you've got to do some maneuvering as this guy cruises around. You've got to, avoid other air traffic, and you can't just kind of go willy-nilly through the skies. We appreciate what the difficulty of your task this evening and your pilot's task there in Air 7 as he goes through, blowing through a red light. That's at Lakewood and Florence, going right
near the old McDonald's right there in Downey. Continuing southbound on Lakewood from Florence, speed 60, 65 miles an hour now. Still, those are very high speeds for these streets here. Even though there's not a lot of traffic here as we continue southbound, it just takes him going through. We've seen him go through these red lights and not even slow down. So he's been through. He's on the brakes there. So going to pull out a little bit. He may have a red light there. Well, he's going to do a U-turn here as well.
Nope.
Not really sure what he's going to thought about it.
Decided not to do that. But again, you've got
we're going to widen out just a little bit to see what we're coming up here.
You've got cross traffic. You've got other vehicles, and now you've got on the surface streets. So if he decides to do a foot bail, this is not a residential area, I believe, not immediately. It looks like a business district here. But you go any much further on this street, you're going to see a residential area, or at least on one of the side streets. Here's Manchester now.
We're making a westbound. Yep.
Go ahead.
Westbound turn on Manchester here, still in the city of Downey. CHP right on his tail. He's picking up those speeds. There he goes. Now he's on it. Picking up 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. We're going to go a little tighter on this for a second.
Oh, my God.
Well, we're going to hold that. Going right by us here. Continuing. Wow. Wow, that is just, we're going to widen out here, guys, because if he wrecks or hits something, it's going to go right out of our frame. That's how fast he's going. You can see as he's continuing 80, 90 plus here on Manchester, moving north and westbound, getting around that car carrier, slowing down just a little bit for that traffic ahead of him. Still in the Downey area, coming up on Paramount. If you are at home right now and thinking to go out to get a late night snack or maybe some grocery shopping late night, don't go out. If you're in this area, this guy is a missile, driving this Mustang extremely fast. That's the fastest we've seen someone go on the side streets with this kind of car in a long time. So let this get out of the area, let this terminate, let this guy get into custody. You do not want to be out on the roads right now with this guy running around.
Yeah, just before he picked up the speed, it almost looked like the CHP might have had an opportunity to move in for a pit maneuver. He was going under 30 miles an hour, and then as soon as that car got close to him, he took off. And certainly the pit maneuver is not an option at high speeds. There really aren't a lot of options at this speed, are there, JT? I mean, it's pretty much just follow and hope he slows down and hope he pulls over.
You can see LAPD Air Support Division right there doing their job, which is really managing this pursuit for the incident commander and the CHP. So very likely he's telling LAPD what's going on, continuing at the CHP. And I think we're coming back up on the 710 freeway here as we continue west on Manchester. But they've got the night sun on them. They're broadcasting to all the agencies and all the cities down there that it's coming through their city. So agencies, wow, almost nailed the back of that black SUV, went around him as he saw that coming and hit his brakes, and he had to maneuver around him. But so they're making sure that all the other agencies are aware this guy's coming and coming through their city. So if he does get out and bail, they have units available to set up a perimeter or a containment around him. Coming up on the 710 freeway here, westbound on Manchester. It looks like we're getting on northbound 710 freeway from Manchester, and we're continuing back to where we came from.
Yeah, he was on the 710 earlier, heading southbound from Monterey Park. So here we go again, back on the freeway, back on a freeway that he had been on earlier, and still continuing at a high rate of speed, this time with the CHP in pursuit. They had gone into tracking mode, the LAPD, which had picked up this chase, we believe, starting in the Boyle Heights area. The LAPD eventually went into tracking mode because it became so dangerous. And when they go into tracking mode, it's an effort to get that driver to slow down. But the CHP has picked it up now, and it continues. And where are we right now, JT?
We're northbound on the 710 coming up on Florence. In fact, that's Florence. We're going to pass right there. Speeds pushing 90, 95. We're going to get an better accurate speed here. Continuing northbound, coming through, coming up on the Commerce area. Commerce train yard's going to be up here in a few miles as the 710 comes towards the 5 freeway. It won't be interesting to see if he jumps back on that 5 freeway or stays with the 710. Maybe back to the area that he's familiar with. We see that all too often with these pursuits. Suspect drives back to the areas they're familiar with and maybe where they can bail out and run into neighborhoods where they have friends that live or they're familiar with and try to get away from the law enforcement, which rarely works, if ever. You can see some construction here on the left lane shut down. Hit 1, 2, 3. Now he's going over to construction lanes.
Oh, boy.
And looking up ahead, and the construction's about to come into your frame right now. There are workers out there.
Exactly. They're
very dangerous
workers,
for them.
Right? Wow. Okay, at least he's staying outside of that cone zone there now. He's back where he should be, but at the speed that he definitely should not be. Those workers were definitely endangered by this if he had kept going on the inside of those cones.
Yeah, I think he had a car in that left lane, and I think those cones started closing those lanes off quicker than he anticipated. He hit a few of them, and luckily was able to get back over before he got into that construction zone. But continuing here northbound, this is where it curves. The 710 curves right near the Commerce train yard, and it'll go northbound east of the Commerce train yard, and then we'll pick up back near the 5 freeway and see what he does coming up on the 5.
I wonder if he's dragging any of those cones that he ran over. Because I've seen that happen. Occasionally you see somebody that hits a cone or a car, and it gets stuck under the car, and it just, I don't know what effect it'll have, but you see that sometimes. I've seen it driving around. Somebody's driving around with a cone stuck to the front of their car or stuck under it.
Getting off at Atlantic Bandini. We haven't seen the cone stuck under. These cars are pretty low profile, but
right.
Off at Atlantic Bandini, that's going to be, pick up the street here in a second. Yeah, on Bandini now, in Commerce. Is this another freeway transition? We're going to pull out and see if we can't see if this transitions back. This is where it kind of twists and turns and goes. Now we're getting right back on the northbound 710. Yep. You can see CHP trying to run a little bit of a traffic break there. That was the unit that a lot of times the CHP, when they have the pursuits on these freeways, one unit will stay way back and run a traffic break to keep other cars from creeping up on the pursuit. Especially if they're really slow. This one, which hasn't been really slow, but now we're back on the northbound 10. Got off at Atlantic Bandini, did a little maneuvering there, and then right back on the on-ramp, and we've seen him do that several times, most of which he changes direction on the freeway. But coming up on the 5 freeway transition, we have seen him come through this area back southbound. He went on that 710 when this thing started. Got a little bit of smoke. That left front is smoking. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe it is that cone stuck under there, but got some smoke out of the left front side of that tire. Not sure what's going on there. Maybe he blew a tire, or maybe he went into the construction zone, maybe hit something he shouldn't have. But we look like we're getting off it, transitioning here onto, well, we'll see what he's going to transition onto. But, yeah, that left front tire, if we can get in there, we'll use the digital, get in there real tight. It looks like it's about to come apart. No sparks yet, but maybe a little bit of sparks there. So maybe hitting one of those cones with a low-profile, profile skirt, I should say, did the damage and maybe put that skirt at those speeds right into that tire, and that's tearing up that tire.
Wow. And he hit a number of them. It wasn't just one. It was he hit a couple of them. So maybe that is what caused the damage to that car. Okay, we saw the sign for the 710. So he's still on the 710 heading northbound, JT, and it looks like at least 2 CHP vehicles behind him, correct?
There is, yeah. It's at least 2, more than that, probably trailing further behind. There's come northbound on the 710, right at 3rd Street. We're getting information now that this may have started in the area of Fremont and Maine, kind of on the border of LA, the city of Los Angeles and Alhambra. That's where it started back, oh gosh, I would say almost 40 minutes ago now. But we're going to try to take a better look at that front tire here as we push up a little bit here. We're going to push forward with the Air 7 HD, try to use some of that extreme vision, maybe a little bit of gain, see if we can't see the condition of that tire. But it almost looked to me that skirt was kind of bent out of shape there and getting into that left front tire as he continues speeds. We'll get an accurate speed here. Well, speeds are back up. Looking at back 100, 110, 105, and the smoke is gone now. So whatever was in there may have cleared. It very well may have been a cone here.
Yeah.
Coming up on the 10 freeway, 710 and the 10. here just a mile or so, a couple miles or so. We'll see what he does if he reaches the 10. Because the 710, well, it ends not too much further north of the 10 freeway here, as you all know.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, it's hard to determine what his plan is, if he has any plan, because he's been kind of, we saw him kind of moving up and down the 5 freeway, but now he's broken away from that pattern and heading northbound on the 710 into the Buena Park area. The sheriff's headquarters is not far from where he is right now, just a point of information. Don't know if the sheriffs will get involved in this. It's been LAPD's pursuit from the beginning, with CHP then taking over once he got on the freeways. LAPD had backed off for a time, and then the CHP became the lead agency when it got back on the freeway. And where's he getting off now? What's he doing?
Well, we were committed to the eastbound 10. Now it looks like it's going to be the westbound 10. So this is the area of the freeway that'll transition right over the top, right near Cal State Los Angeles. Moving back westbound from the 710 on the 10. This is going to take us right into the downtown area near County General Hospital here, and then to points right into the downtown LA area if he continues on.
Okay, we're getting a good side view now as you swung around there, JT.
Yeah, we'll try to look at that tire.
Yeah, looked like something might have been going on there. I saw something kind of, I don't know if it was dangling or, it's hard to tell. Obviously, it's at night and it's just hard to tell, but it looked like something might have been amiss on the left front side, where there maybe, I think you called it, like possibly some damage to the skirt on the left front side of the car.
And you can get a good look at the Mustang there, and for some of the Mustang enthusiasts out there can maybe tell by the bodies we push back in to get a tighter look. Maybe they can tell by the body style that may identify this as a Shelby. I mean, we've seen that racing stripe and the raised hood there, and I've seen some Shelbys. We've got one of our operators actually has one, and it's a really nice one here, and it looks similar. So, but again, I'm not a car expert. Got to get Dave Coons in there for that one, but. It looks very fast, and it's shown to be very fast, but not too fast now. Going speeds 80, 90, well, it slowed down a little bit. I think that's inaccurate right there. We've got to be a little steeper. But as we continue here, westbound on the 10 freeway, coming up on Soto, in about a quarter of a mile here, speeds looking at about, well, that's not accurate either. We're going to try to get a little closer to them to get that accurate speed tracking going on here. But we think probably about 100 miles per hour. Yeah, maybe a little under 90 plus. That's about right there. As he continues past Soto here, moving hard over to the right. Looks like he might be exiting onto another transition road, and that might be the 5 freeway coming up. The transition road to the 5 freeway. We'll see where he goes.
I'm thinking about the level of stress involved here for everybody involved in this pursuit. You got this guy who's trying to flee from officers, may not know where he's going, traveling at these high rates of speed, trying to avoid hitting anybody, trying to avoid losing control, and trying to avoid the people who are chasing him. And so the possibility of him or her, we don't know, making a dangerous mistake because of all the elements that are involved here is certainly very high. The officers, of course, that are pursuing, they're under incredible amounts of stress, but they train for this. They train for this, and they will rotate who the lead unit is so that they don't get that kind of tunnel vision that's been described by various police experts, that you kind of get so concentrated on this you forget about other things that are happening, and it can lead to problems. So they are trained, and at least they are in a better position to deal with this than the driver is. And so when you have somebody that's dealing with that sorts of stress and the potential high performance here and all of those elements, it does add to the danger when you're dealing with these kinds of speeds.
We have transition marked from the westbound 10 to that section where the southbound 5 picks up as it moves towards the East LA interchange, and this is where all of those freeways come together towards the East LA interchange. So we are southbound on the 5, even though it says the 10. It's that road they still consider the westbound 10 that actually turns into the 10 going away from the East LA interchange, but kind of that section of the freeway that transitions to the East LA interchange. That's where he's at right now. And a lot of options here. He could go westbound, eastbound 60. He could go westbound 10, southbound 5, or those are his options here. We'll see which one he takes. It's kind of a little bit of a spaghetti bowl down here as we transition through East LA interchange. Speeds down to 65 normal, 70 mile per hour normal freeway speeds here. CHP still behind, but the LAPD airship has turned off their nights, and they were asked by the CHP to turn it off, which they've done. Didn't really change the driving habits of the suspect as we transition. It looks like this might be either going to be the eastbound 60 or the southbound 5. We'll see which way he takes. If he stays to the right, it's going to be southbound 5. He stays to the left, more than likely the eastbound 60.
All right, and as we watch that live picture on the right here, we have the video earlier when he hit a number of cones that were set up for construction work. And
1, 2,
wow.
3. And notice those 2 that he hit, the last 2 that he hit, didn't come out. One of them came out, but I think the second one did not. So that may have been the one that was stuck under the car, that may have been smoking for a time there, and apparently isn't now, so I guess it's cleared, it's gone. JT, have you, I'm seeing something on my Twitter feed that the LA Sheriff's Department has joined this as well, their air unit. Have you been able to determine that?
I can talk to my pilot here and see if they have actually joined in his LA County Aero Bureau overhead, the sheriff's ship. No, we believe only LAPD Air Support Division is overhead right now. They may be in the area monitoring in case it gets off in the county, in their area and jurisdiction. They can hop in and help maybe over top of the LAPD units to deploy their sheriff's deputies in perimeter containment form if he bails out. But we are committed to the eastbound 60 freeway coming up through the East LA area, coming up on Long Beach Boulevard, and in just a quarter mile or so, speeds pushing 90 miles an hour. So we don't see them right now. We just see LAPD down low, and they've stuck with this from the start. And we'll continue to see what he does from here as we continue eastbound on the 60 through East Los Angeles.
Okay, this was a pursuit that started before the 11 o'clock hour, as JT reported, in the area of Fremont and Maine in Los Angeles. The car is believed to have been stolen. We believe it is a Shelby Mustang, and it has been driving at very high speeds, backing off a little bit now as this person goes down the 60 freeway heading eastbound. And another decision to be made here, JT. What are the options?
Yeah. Well, he could stay on the eastbound 60 or pick up the north or southbound 710, and it looks like he's choosing the 710. We'll figure out which way, north or south, and it appears to be north. So, looks like to be, there's the transition road, and he's going to stick to the north. So we're kind of doing the same thing we just did. We were just in this area no more than 5 minutes ago.
Right.
We'll back up the northbound 710. We'll see if he continues back to the 10, just doing loops in the area in and around Boyle Heights, Boyle Heights is going to be west of the 710. East LA is going to be east of the 710, and the areas in between Buena Park up in here as well. So we'll see what he does here as he continues up the 710 again. Speed's looking at about 60, so he's slowing down quite a bit. And it looks like he's going to get off at Cesar Chavez.
Real quick, JT, he's getting off at Cesar Chavez. We're going to be off the air, but you can continue to follow this. We're going to continue our coverage on abc7.com. Thank you for watching on television. We will join you on the web. All right, JT, continue. Where are we?
Well, we are on, looks like Hamel Street in East Los Angeles, and there's McDonald going through some small side streets, surface streets here in East LA. We haven't seen this before, so maybe an area he's familiar with, he or she, as you mentioned before. We're going to pull the streets up here real quick. You can see some of them coming through, but on the side streets here, slower speeds, which is good news. We'll see CHP might pit right here. Well, they were thinking about it. He saw him coming, and he took that turn wide as he turns eastbound on Floral Drive coming away from McDonald. And there are the speeds again. So something very personal. We've mentioned it before. We've talked to pursuit experts and EVOC driving trainers from different departments. Something about when that police vehicle touches the back of a suspect's car, whether it's his or it's stolen, and they mean business here. As we make that left-hand turn on the Monterey Pass Road from Floral, coming back up northbound here, and you can see that Chippy's getting ready to get in that position. But boy, there's a lot of get up and go, Mark, with that Mustang. So he sees him in the side or rearview mirror, and he punches it just a little bit, and away he goes. Yeah,
he's going to out accelerate that pursuing cruiser just without too much effort. At least that's what he's exhibiting so far. So I think that kind of obviates the pit maneuver. unless they surprise him somehow. So, yeah, your tactics are kind of limited here. You know, you got to hope he drives into a cul-de-sac maybe, or gets into a dead-end situation, runs out of gas, something like that, because the pit, it's going to be hard to do because he can literally just step on the gas and outrun you at this point if you're a CHP officer. Yeah,
he sure can, and this is kind of meandering back towards the area where it all started, kind of in the border of Boyle Heights and Alhambra, kind of moving back to where the whole thing started. You got 2 units in it now. We're going to go a little bit wider. I'm going to bring up our street maps. You can see, maybe we can show you, talked about it going down a dead-end street. We actually have the capability in SkyMap 7 that whenever we see a street with a dotted line, that means it's either a cul-de-sac or it's a one-way in, one-way out. That's always a good opportunity for them to set up spike strips if they have them. As we continue on Monterey Pass Road, coming up on Fremont, which is an area where we believe this whole thing started. But we'll watch for that. He goes down some of these side streets and see if those dotted lines come up. That's a good indication that either it's a cul-de-sac or one way in, one way out, and that may be a good choke point for the CHP to set up a spike strip if they have the opportunity to. It looks like he's creeping up on them now, maybe trying to get in a little closer. We'll see what he does here. We're going to try to catch up a little bit here as it continues on Monterey Pass Road, and I think that merges with Garvey there. Now we're on Garvey.
And look at him punching
eastbound on away. Garvey. Yep.
Not even breathing hard. Yeah. It's going to be really hard for them to pit this guy. Maybe on an on-ramp. If he gets on an on-ramp, we've seen that before. They can't go above, they can't go too fast going up an on-ramp, although arguably, if this is a high-performance car, he might have grippier tires and suspension to be able to take a turn faster than these pursuing units.
That would have been a great opportunity. Sorry to interrupt, Mark. That would have been a great opportunity if they had the position, but because he slowed down quite a bit, reversing course on Garvey, back westbound on Garvey now. We're reversing course as well. And looks like they're creeping up a little bit closer, and he is slowing down because he's got the juice just to get away from these guys, and it's almost like he's toying with them a little bit, unless his vehicle may be a little bit disabled. He really has the ability to pull away as we come back onto Monterey Pass Road, where Garvey turns back into Monterey Pass Road. We left the Monterey Park area, now back into the Alhambra area, coming back down Monterey. We were just here, so he has a propensity to really like to double back to where he was just minutes earlier.
Yeah, which may be an indication he's looking for a place to bail out. But he's not going to have much success with that because CHP is following very closely behind. So if he stops and gets out of his car, there's a very good chance he's going to be caught.
He's done at that point. So his only shot is to be in this car, which is pretty high performance and able to, at least so far, avoid a pit maneuver. But if he makes a wrong turn, which is very likely, very possible, then he's in real trouble because they are going to be they're so close behind him. It's interesting. They backed off and it didn't alter his driving.
No.
Turned the night sun off, and it didn't alter his driving. He's doing the same sorts of things, blowing through red lights as we just saw there at San Clemente. So they're trying everything to try to lower the temperature here, to cool this thing off, to slow it down as he blows through another red light and gets on. Is that freeway on-ramp there?
It looked like it, but no. We're on. Well, hold on now. Let me double check it. It may be. Let me double check. We might be jumping on the 10 freeway again, or no, not quite yet. Yeah. But we're getting towards the 10 freeway on Fremont here, and we're going northbound on Fremont, and I think we're approaching the 10 if we're not there already. It's out the pilot side, so I can't look out the window. I'm seeing the same thing you are using SkyMap, but I think we may be by that already. Already by north of the 10 freeway here as we're going up Fremont. At least 2, maybe 3 CHP vehicles behind them, approaching Norwood Place here, now in the city of Alhambra. So again, if you're planning on going out and doing that late night trip here in Alhambra, stay inside because this pursuit's coming through. We haven't seen them run any red lights at high speeds, but speeds pushing 40, 50 miles per hour are still fast enough, obviously, to do a lot of damage here. As we are coming up on Mission Road, and it looks like we'll be back westbound on Mission Road here. In Alhambra.
Okay, the unit's a little farther back now. We'll see what happens. Speeds are picking up again on the now going on West Mission Road. And we will see if he'll end up getting back on a freeway. He spent a lot of time getting on and off of freeways tonight. He's been on the 710, the 5, the 10, but still kind of staying in the same general area, not spending a whole lot of time going in any particular direction on a freeway before getting off and changing direction. And now coming up Go ahead,
That was Alhambra Road, now on Lowell.
Oh, boy, that's a tight little area.
This is a residential area.
Residential area, very narrow streets, and he's speeding up, and this is really bad.
So, JT, now we're seeing those white lines instead of green. With your street map.
That just means it's a smaller street. Okay. We haven't seen the dotted lines. If we see the dotted lines, that means he's getting into a cul-de-sac or a one-way in, one-way out. Now it's getting kind of tight in here, so we're going to stay a little bit tighter. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for this Mustang to get the speed he needs around those corners, and if CHP plays their cards right, we're going to continue. We're going northbound here on Sheffield and coming up on Norwich, so we're going to continue northbound here and we want to stay a little steep because it's going to happen here. There are the speed bumps in the neighborhood, and that low-profile vehicle, you know, if you hit those too hard, he's going to bottom that thing out for sure. We'll see sparks, so he's doing it very, very slowly here. 20, even at 25 miles per hour, you can see it's hitting pretty hard. The California Highway Patrol, well, look at that. That Shelby cut that corner like he knew if he took it too wide, he was going to get pitted. So I think he's got an idea that he's going to try to do it. So there he goes, picking up the speeds again. Very narrow streets here on Templeton, back westbound from Stockbridge. Trying to get narrow.
Worth knowing if people who live in this area, if you know somebody, if you're watching this on Facebook or on the web and know somebody who lives in this area, let them know not to go outside. Keep your doors and windows locked because the foot bail could happen at any time. An accident could happen at any time. And if you're driving through this area, pull over.
Now, we did see one of those dotted lines came up, and he turned off it, so he may have known that it was a cul-de-sac. So he almost went down it, but he did not. And we'll keep this streets up for a little bit as we go a little wider here. There's Cronus Street. And westbound on Cronus, so we're looking for those dotted streets here to see what happens here. But now we're going westbound, working its way through the area just, this is in the LA counties area.
Now on Warwick Avenue, looks like, JT, Warwick.
Yeah, Warwick.
Yeah. Okay.
Just slaloming through these small streets. There's Edna. CHP trying to get a little closer here. Yeah. Sees an opportunity here. Going to widen out. There's a T intersection.
Yeah.
Back on Chadwick.
Right now.
Look how narrow these streets are, guys. Literally, it's not. If you try to get two cars through there at once, it ain't happening. They're so narrow up in this area. Some of the older streets in Los Angeles. That's Chadwick Drive. So, continuing down now, I think we're moving south and southwest. 20 miles per hour, taking it relatively slow, but still very, very fast for these narrow streets through this area.
Yeah, and all it takes really is one other car at this point to be on the road going in the opposite direction, and it presents some real problems for him he may get essentially blocked.
Yeah, and it creates a problem for crossfire for the officers, too, because if they've got their guns drawn and they've got someone behind them, it becomes a real problem with what's called crossfire. So, yeah, and that's one of the reasons we urge our audience that if you see one of these, don't get involved, because you can wind up in the middle of a shootout. And, a lot of people we've seen in some other pursuits try to get in and try to block them out, and that's never a good thing to do, because you could be caught in crossfire there, and they're very concerned about their background. There's one of the dotted streets. Those were two cul-de-sacs there. Back out to the major.
There's somebody that's standing on the corner. You notice that? Somebody was standing on the corner right there. Something tells me that this is kind of in the area where this was reported stolen, wasn't it? Or no?
Yeah, it was. It was on the border of Hollenbeck and I think we're right near the. Trying to get my eyes outside, but moving back towards the city of Los Angeles. Very near here, though.
Right.
Not too far from here at all. Going back to the areas they're familiar with, so maybe looking for a place to bail as we come back out to Eastern and Huntington Drive. So the pursuit was on when we first heard it. We heard it on Huntington Drive, working its way back towards Eastern. So right in this area, he was here earlier. This is where it all started.
And there he goes, back into those narrow little streets again. He was on a big street and elected to go onto one of these narrow residential streets again.
There's a dotted line. You can see that's an alley, maybe a cul-de-sac alley there, continuing up northbound on Locke Avenue from Edison.
Look at him flying.
And in the LA County area.
Well, this has been going on for about an hour, right, JT? It started about this time, before 11:46, about 10:46?
Yeah, right about then, maybe maybe about 55 minutes or so ago, so almost an hour before we got over it. There's Carnegie Street back westbound on Carnegie. But so, yeah, going on quite a long time.
And for the majority of that time, he was not on these little streets. He was choosing to be on freeways and, wide boulevards. So this is
here comes maybe really getting on his tail, though. But a lot of times we see this, Mark and Michelle, when they start circling up. We call this circling up. They're looking for a place to bail, looking for a place to run. Maybe areas they're very familiar with. They talked about it before. Maybe some friends and family really getting tight there, so we're going to keep it a little bit steep here, looking for the opportunity. But I don't think that Mustang is going to let them do it. And you got to remember, if they do that in this area, there's not a whole lot of room. Residential area, really narrow streets. It's going to jettison that car or even the black and white into a parked car. So they're looking for a corner to do it on. And you can see there was that dotted street back out to Huntington Drive. Wow, cuts against oncoming traffic.
Blowing through a red.
Yeah.
It did kind of look like he was trying to find a place to bail. Although, maybe, somebody holding a door open for him somewhere. I mean, I just don't see this ending well for whoever this driver is of this stolen Ford Mustang. It's just, wherever he bails, given the LAPD's abilities, especially with the night vision, the forward-looking infrared, they're going to catch anybody that's just from their body heat. They're going to be able to track him with their helicopters as he runs around trying to find a place to hide. So it's very unlikely he's going to get away at this point. But, you never know. And I guess he's as long as he's moving, he's not under arrest. And I think that's the mentality here as well. He's not under arrest yet. He's still free as long as he keeps this up.
And we've talked to a lot of the suspects after the fact, after they've run for so long, and they say the question's always asked, well, why'd you run? Well, the longer I ran, the longer I was not sitting in cuffs or in the back of a black and white or in a holding cell. So, but what they're not taking into consideration is all the people they're endangering. And God forbid they hit or kill anybody. Well, they went from being a crime against property suspect to a murder suspect, in essence. So, the manslaughter at the very least. So it's a very scary situations when they continue running. And we don't even know, well, there he is, right? Got real slow there. That might have been an opportunity, but the only reason he didn't is because it's just too narrow in there. You can see they can barely squeeze by these streets. On Navarro Street at Pueblo going southbound, really slowing down.
Look at that.
I'm not really sure why he's going so slow unless his car's starting to break down on him. And again, we don't even know if there's any passengers in here. It's the windows, at least the back window, looks extremely dark, extremely tinted. So dangerous for officers not knowing how many occupants are in the vehicle. But now speeds down to 19 miles per hour, but they can't pit him because they don't have the room to. So we'll see if they pick up a corner here or they get some space. You can guarantee he's going to pit him.
Yeah, it sure looks like he wants to do it.
Oh, back out to
but
Eastern.
Look at the acceleration. He taps the accelerator, and he's already away from this unit. He's just got enough torque where he's going to be able to, if he plays his card right, stay away from any sort of attempt at a pit maneuver. Look at the speed now.
Yeah, there's the acceleration right there, really pulling out 80-plus miles per hour. It almost appears like he's toying with him. He almost appears like he knows when he's in those narrow streets that he's not going to pit him. He doesn't have the room to. And he gets real slow, gets him on his tail, and when he gets in the open and tries to get him, bring him in close. So, again, there's always the tactics end of it. You never know. The suspect is wanted for a stolen vehicle, but could there be more crimes involved? Could it be an armed suspect that stole a car and, running from a robbery? You just never know. And the officers are getting sucked into this thing and try to pit him. You're right up against the suspect, door to door, window to window, and if he's armed, that could be a dangerous situation for officers. So you just never know, and that's the scary part about these things. You just never know what else they may be wanted for other than the crime against the property, which is the stolen vehicle.
CHP has been chasing for at least a half an hour now, JT, but before that it was the LAPD. At some point, could they hand it back if it continues to stay on the surface streets?
Well, LAPD went into tracking mode, so it would be, I think they would be just fine and content to let the CHP continue to chase him here. CHP's pursuit policy seems to be that they're willing to chase, where maybe some of the other policies of some of the other law enforcement agencies are starting to wean against crimes against property and just go into tracking mode or surveillance mode, or altogether just cancel a pursuit and just let them go and get them another day. But CHP at this point seems to be the agency, it's about the closest we've seen, seems to be the agency that'll pretty much, if they get on the freeways and another agency will hand it over to them, they'll continue to chase them. And that's what we've seen here today, or tonight, I should say.
Yeah. Well, wow. He's still continuing again on these narrow streets. It does seem like as you were talking, what is it, the term you used, looping or circling up? What is it?
Circling up. Yeah, circling up. We call it cleaning up. Some tactics that they may use, and we've seen situations recently where, I don't know if that was someone just unloading their car or if that was a white CHP vehicle, but he's been through this neighborhood at least 2 or 3 times, so they may be trying to get in here close. But watch this. He's going to come around to the major, and he's going to hit the gas.
Hit the gas, and that'll be that.
But cleaning up is we've seen a lot when they go into surveillance mode or into tracking mode. They'll start to slow down. They'll go into neighborhoods, and they'll make turns to see if there's any black and whites. At least he stopped for traffic there. There's a good look at the suspect.
Here we go.
We'll go widen out just a little bit.
Here we go.
Trying to get on that left rear quarter panel, and
it just seems really hard. That's just.
Did I sound disappointed there? It's because I want this thing to end, and I apologize for my lack of objectivity there. I think anybody watching this, knowing the danger that's involved, wants this to end and end quickly. So yeah, that was a little bit of a tell there on my part. Apologize. But look at the speeds now. He's back up. So yeah, this cat and mouse thing is continuing. I think you're right, JT, that he's just kind of toying with his pursuers at this point.
Yeah, he went back under us again, so we're trying to get back over this. It's off our left down in here. Okay. Yep. Okay, back on Valley Boulevard. Now we're back on the majors here, picking the speeds up, 50, 60 plus miles per hour. You got to almost wonder, Mark and Michelle, if he just appears to be toying with the CHP officers. It's baiting him in, and then just right at the last second, just pushing that accelerator out. And we'll see it again probably here as we got speeds here in excess of 60 miles an hour. I would be, just trying to get into position if he does make another turn, that at least he's on his quarter panel, and he can try to get that right front panel of the chippy vehicle into that left rear or right rear quarter panel of the vehicle and try to disengage that back end and get him spun. But I don't know if we're going to see that.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem possible. Every time he gets close, he just steps on the gas and he pulls away faster than the CHP unit can keep up. He's just got a little bit more oomph, a little bit more torque, and he can just use that horsepower and get away. And plus, at this speed, you certainly don't want to do it. I mean, he gets above a certain speed. I don't know what the parameters are for the upper limits of speed for a pit maneuver. I don't want to give away what the lower level limit of speed is for a pit maneuver, but the upper level, they don't. If he's going 75, 80 miles an hour, you don't want to do it because then somebody can get killed.
Yeah, back in the city of Los Angeles here, coming back into Hollenbeck, just north of County General Hospital, right near Mission and Valley. So. But yeah, I mean, everybody's got a little bit of different policy on how they do it, and again, they don't want to say what the speeds are or what they can and can't do it, because then that obviously, look at that little slaloming going on there. Looks like the Mustang is just playing with them at this point again, as we continue to speed 60 plus miles per hour eastbound on Valley Boulevard, right at San Pablo. It's he's just saying in his rearview mirror and just maybe putting a little pressure on them to say, hey, listen, we're not going anywhere. And the Chippies know they're not going anywhere. LA County, I'm sure, and LAPD are all aware of where this is and what it's doing, so they've got units in the area in case he runs to set up a perimeter. But again, now back at eastbound on Valley, back towards the Alhambra area where this thing started, and back into the county area, just back and forth here, and it just continues.
Mm-hmm. So this started at Fremont and Maine is the area roughly where this began, right, JT? Fremont and Main Street?
Yeah, we think it might be right near the border of Alhambra and the city of Los Angeles. I can't pull the map up to see exactly where that is, but we do believe it's in the city of Los Angeles. LAPD Hollenbeck. Oh, there he goes, going to try to make a move. Now watch this. Try to sneak up on him.
Wow,
there it is. There's the pit maneuver. Got him around, going backwards. Now we'll see if the second and third unit come in here and block him. A lot of the times what will happen is the vehicle will disengage when going backwards at that speed. So it looks like it did that. But what has to happen now is they've got to get some blocking vehicles in there. So we're going to actually go clean on the map since we're stopped. We're going to take the map off.
Okay.
The vehicle has been disengaged by the sheer inertia of that thing spinning around and cutting, and now they've got a situation where they're doing a high-risk felony stop. The CHP officer that did the pit coming back around, they're going to have, this is right at Valley Boulevard, right near Rowan Avenue. We're going to hold right here, and now we've got a suspect, and we'll see if he complies or not. Now, I don't know if there's a reset period. Okay, door's open, driver's door open, so we're going to push into that. We're going to hold right here, Tim, if we can. Hands are out. Well, I'm not sure if there is a hand out. The door is open here. CHP shouting commands out, giving them the left hands out. They usually ask them to throw the keys out. Well, now the door is closed. That's interesting.
Oh, boy.
So they opted not to take that second and third CHP vehicle and follow up on that pit and block him in. We've seen that a lot. We're going to widen out and tilt up just a little bit, and we're going to see if those officers don't try to close that distance down. But we saw the door open. Thought he was going to give it up, and that did not happen. So we got a pretty good position right here that we'll hold. Door back open, so we're going to push back in. Go ahead and push all the way in there. Okay, there's the suspect. He's going to come out. They'll probably ask him to raise his sweatshirt, turn around, and hands are up. Ask him maybe to spin around, lift his sweatshirt to show his waistband. Suspect's off. Well, they're just going to go and land down there. So we've seen a lot of different, well, he knows the routine because CHP has a little bit different felony prone. They usually call him back to walk backwards towards the sounds of their voices, which they might have him pop back up. But he immediately took the LAPD prone, looking away from the vehicle, hands behind his back. Now he's lifting his shirt away from the waistband. But I wouldn't be surprised if they stood him back up there and try to walk him back towards the car.
Okay, well, this is about the best ending we could have hoped for. Nobody got hurt. No collisions. Suspect in custody. The car stopped. No longer, well, it's stolen. We don't know what level of damage there is to it. Looks like the left rear quarter panel. And everybody's, except the suspect, is going to go home at the end of this. So that's about the best way it could end.
After they approach the suspect, then they will clear the car, make sure there's no one in that car. It's still unknown if there could be some passengers in the car. So we shall see. Now walking backwards toward the officers as they commanded him to do. And then, JT, once they get him in custody, then they'll check the car, right?
Yeah, he's not really going with the program. He is he's not listening. So it'll be interesting to see if they decide to bring out a taser, maybe bring out a beanbag, because that is not normally what they ask them to do.
Yeah, he's not supposed to be facing the officer. He's kind of throwing his hands around.
You can see the police rifle is there, a handgun is there. They should be the cover officers, and maybe they'll get a couple contact officers that are over to the right. So one of those officers will put away his handgun, and he'll be the contact officer, grab that wrist, do a twist lock, come around the back, put the knee to the back, and then hook him up. We can go in a little tighter there, Ted. You can see the officer with the rifle still covering the vehicle, which has not been cleared yet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what they'll do, as soon as he's in custody, they'll take him back to the car, maybe even put him in the car after they do a good cursory search of his waistband, get him in that car, and then get enough officers to go get a team together and clear the car.
All right. Well, he has successfully been placed into custody. They're going to have to search him, pat him down, of course, make sure he doesn't have any weapons. And then, as JT mentioned, they're going to check the stolen vehicle, the suspect's vehicle, and make sure there's nobody else in there. And then this will be over. So they're walking him backward now, doing what we have seen countless times at the ends of these pursuits. Looking up on the right portion of your screen, this is how it ended. Perfect pit maneuver.
Wow. I wonder if he was distracted maybe on his cell phone or something, because
he'd been outrunning them all night.
There had been so many attempts, where they had gone up close.
Yeah, I think you're right, Michelle. I was thinking the same thing, guys. It looks like they got the timing right, and they maybe saw that his head was down or not paying attention, snuck right in there. I think by the time he realized they were there, he was already spinning. So, because he didn't try to push the gas and get out of there. So that's a great observation. We were thinking the same exact thing, that I think they just kind of snuck up on him, caught him off guard.
Yeah. Well, texting and driving, never advised, especially if you're a suspect.
Yeah.
Talking on the cell phone and driving.
Tag that violation onto it.
Right, exactly. Well, he was distracted, and look what happened.
So
clear
JT,
in the trunk here.
Oh, okay. So that's what they're doing right now. Okay.
Yep. Make sure that's cleared. Make sure no one's tied up in there, and that looks to be cleared. And he gives the code 4 up. That's the international sign that it's all clear. Right. Suspect in custody, and this couldn't have ended any better for officers, the suspect, and everybody out there that was endangered by this. So great job by CHP, LAPD, and even the Sheriff's Department helped out as well.
Yep.
All right. Well, great job covering it, JT. We appreciate your efforts out there, and the suspect is in custody now. No one's been hurt, and that will conclude our coverage here. We thank you all for watching. Have a good night.